Welcome into Sports Talk at the Stadium from Acrisure Stadium in downtown Pittsburgh, where Clemson defeats Pitt this afternoon 24-20 in their ACC finale. The Tigers finished 7-1 in league play. They are 8-2 overall, and they also finished undefeated on the road, not counting the neutral site loss to Georgia in the season opener. Our report is brought to you by the South Carolina Beef Council. Well, this game had a little bit of everything. It had some great offensive moments, had a ton of defense, had too many injuries, and a lot of mistakes on both sides. Just listen to this. First of all, 95 passes between the two teams. Both teams kind of felt like they couldn't run the ball today, so they took to the air. There were 19 penalties, 13 sacks, 29 tackles for loss, 5 fumbles. Clemson only averaged 2.1 yards per carry, and Pitt only 2.7. I mentioned lots of injuries. On the first play of the game, Clemson's left tackle, Elijah Thurman, goes down with an ankle injury. He's finished for the season, and that causes Matt Luke to have to shuffle up his offensive line and have players really playing out of position. But they held up pretty well, at least in that first half. As far as Pitt is concerned, they had to have a couple of players carted off. It was that kind of day from an injury standpoint. Tigers also lost R.J. Mickens late, but he should be okay. Controversial calls as far as calls made and calls not made. You had a situation here similar to Georgia and Texas, where after not making a call on a play, the officials conferred, and several minutes later, because they had time to do it because there was an injury on the field, they come back and they call a personal foul penalty on Clemson. Of course, Dabo Swinney was not happy about that whatsoever. Sammy Brown was hit with a targeting call. He was ejected. He'll have to sit out the first half of next week's game against the Citadel. You had all these kind of things going on in this game. It looked like Clemson was going to run away with it in the first half. The Tigers led 17-7 at the break. They had 244 total yards in the first half, 242 through the air. Klubnik was dialed in. He was putting the ball right on the money. Pittsburgh was playing a type of defense that was not going to let Clemson run the football. And they were bringing pressure on almost every snap. So it put Clemson in a lot of man situations, and their receivers took advantage of it. Antonio Williams had a career high 13 catches and had 2 touchdown catches, and the middle of the field was pretty wide open, both for passes and for scrambles by Klubnik, and that proved to be true late in the ball game. So the Tigers led 17-7 at the half, but they did nothing in the third quarter. And Pittsburgh clawed its way back in the ball game. They scored 13 straight points. Could have been more because they drove to the Clemson 1-yard line, but the Tigers defense came up with a goal line stand. They were helped by 3 consecutive pre-snap penalties on Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had all kind of troubles today with pre-snap penalties that pushed them back. They had to settle for a field goal there. Eventually, Pittsburgh went ahead after Clemson went for it on 4th and 1 from inside Pitt territory. They got stopped. A play to Maffa that Dabo Swinney said was there. They felt good about it, but it didn't work, and Pittsburgh took over. They went down and kicked a field goal with 1:36 to go. So it looked like Clemson might have shot themselves in the foot here with that decision, and then Pittsburgh turning it into 3. A minute 36 to go. Pitt is up 20-17. Dabo Swinney wisely used his timeouts on Pitt's last possession to save time. So he did have some time to work with. They came out, they hit a couple of passes. All of a sudden, they're at midfield. Klubnik goes back to pass. Here comes the pressure. They're playing man coverage. Backs to the quarterback. He takes off running, finds a seam, and opens up. He beats the safety. He turns on the jets. He's in the end zone. Tigers go back on top 24-20. But it's not over because Pitt went down the field. Their backup quarterback, Yarnell, did an excellent job in a lot of ways. Kind of settled into the game and threw the ball better as they went along. He moved them down the field, got it down deep into Clemson territory on 4th down from the 25, about 5 seconds to go, under pressure, and he was under pressure a lot because T.J. Parker had 4 sacks by himself. Clemson had 8 sacks on the day, 16 tackles for loss. Under pressure, he throws it across the middle towards the end zone, about the 2-yard line, and the Barnes intercepted it for Clemson to seal the win. So it was a hard-fought win today for Clemson, the kind that, boy, if you win, you go, that is such a lift for the team. If you lose it, man, you might lose out the rest of the season. This will be a hard one for Pittsburgh to get over. But Clemson does what it has to do. The Tigers still have their fate as far as the ACC is concerned out of its hands, and their fate as far as the college football playoff is concerned also out of the hands right now. They're going to need some help there to be able to play in the ACC championship game and also in the college football playoff. Of course, if they can get to the ACC championship game and win it, then they're in. But for right now, they're celebrating a. This is a the Pitt series has just become a grinder for both of these teams. They play each other so hard and so physically and really close ball games. And this one goes to Clemson 24-20. Now the Tigers will return home for their last 2 games against the Citadel and then, of course, against South Carolina in 2 weeks. We have more coverage here on the website, sportstalksc.com, and also on Sunday, coverage of the Dabo Swinney conference call. Monday night, we'll get your reaction to everything that happened here today in downtown Pittsburgh. Please remember, our coverage is brought to you by the South Carolina Beef Council. Go out and have a steak later tonight or on Sunday and enjoy yourself. Final score, Clemson wins it here in Pittsburgh, 24-20. Thanks for joining us here. Sports Talk at the Stadium.